and welcome to Let's Talk God, Jesus, and Faith. Today I am Crystal Ruiz, and I'm here with Dr. Tom Slayton.
I am Dr. Tom Slayton. Hey, how you guys doing today?
We're going to be talking about faith and faith in hard times. And we've seen a lot of hard times. This was just the anniversary of 9/11. It was also the 1-year anniversary of the October 7th attacks. Now we've had Hurricane Helene and a second hurricane, actually multiple hurricanes and tornadoes hit Florida, not even a week later.
Right.
And Tom, we see a lot of people, first of all, a lot of people dead. And I know that the 9/11 and October 7th, those were a year ago or 20 years ago, 25 years ago for the one. But these hurricanes are fresh. People are needlessly dying without food, without water. They lost their homes. Their homes, Tom, just blows my mind as their home is going down this river that was never there. And
well, I suspect these hurricanes a lot of it is man-made.
Yeah.
And I think for years, from the time I was in the military, and that was in the 60s and 70s, the government has been working on how to control the weather to be used for a weapon. And I think we're starting to see some of the perfecting of it now. It's not perfected yet, but it's going to be to where, say, if they wanted it to have a deluge of rain and thunderstorms in a zip code, they can do that.
Yeah.
That's what it's coming to. Well, it's not there yet, but
it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening. And as far as you used the term more than once, a lot of people dying. People dying and a lot of people dying is a relative statement to what you've seen or what you compare it to. As far as dying in weather, there's not any more people dying in these hurricanes than at any other time, other than the media can draw attention to it.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
more people died and we just weren't aware of
We
it.
weren't aware of it. No.
I mean, now, the death toll is well over 1,000.
Yeah.
Well
yeah.
over 1,000. And you're right. I'm from the government, so I know a
Yeah,
lot
but
about what they're
1,000 people
doing.
are not a lot of people when, in the scope of things, but yet I know exactly what you
Yeah,
mean.
even one is too many.
Right,
When,
exactly.
when it's man-made.
Right.
Now, God handles most of it. But you're right. In the 60s, is that when 60s, Korea, Vietnam.
Vietnam, yeah,
Yeah.
60s.
So that's when we
63 to 67.
started using manipulation.
Yeah.
And if you go back, people that talk about this being a conspiracy theory. It's not. You watch the government videos back then of the testimonies before the Congress and Senate Senate ones, and you can even look at the House ones. But you'll see the people who are doing it talking about it. And in fact, my husband pointed out to me recently that if they are not doing it, then why is there a treaty that says they will only do certain things?
Only do it, yes.
Only, in certain times. And so now we're so high tech. I thought, how does somebody create a hurricane?
Well, people don't realize how high tech we are.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
They think high tech is something that you keep in a building. It's not.
No, it's in the cloud. It's literally in this case.
It's just about everywhere, as you were about to say. But weather-wise, weather is to where you can manipulate it pretty much at will.
Yeah.
With what we have now, lasers, you can't see them.
Right.
It's not like when you had, lightning and you had this control. No, the lasers, they're doing things by laser now.
Right.
This is why there was so much pressure on developing lasers. And we don't know what they can do and what they can't do. other than, have you noticed that you'll hear about somebody suddenly they were looking for them, then you don't hear anything else about them
Right.
anymore? They disappeared. Why did
Somehow.
they disappear?
Somehow.
And where did they go?
Yep.
You know?
You're right. You're right.
And are they alive? I doubt it seriously.
Yeah.
But you can be walking down the street, and it's kind of like the TV used to show 5 guys walking down the street. Suddenly, there's only 4.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Where did John go? John was here.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So we don't know what is going on, other than for sure we're close to the returning of the Lord, because the Bible says that there's going to be evil. Oh, there's going to be evil.
I think we're seeing it.
But
we're
the thing about
truly
it,
seeing it.
we don't have a concept of it, because we don't recognize how evil it was. People don't realize that. They talk about the flood of Noah. The flood of Noah was to get rid of evil.
Yep.
The evil before. I mean, people were conducting evil, and we, for some reason, I don't know how this has happened, but we think that they were here and we are here. No, we are catching up to where they were. Is the problem. See,
I think
they
so
were
too.
smart. They had the math. They knew all of the manipulations. They knew computers. They knew this. Oh, yes, they did.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they did. But that was lost in the flood.
Well, yeah. And you can still, even if you go back to the Incas, you go back to that time, that stuff that was stuff, the mathematics and the calculations and all of
Right,
the structure of this stuff. If you lay it out now, it would lay out as a computer.
Right, right.
They were
But
creating that.
folks don't recognize that. They think that the people back there were undereducated. No, they were not undereducated.
You know what? Here's the deal. I'll be honest with you. When I thought about, I think about, and you're gonna laugh. I think about Jesus saying that there is a place for us in His Father's kingdom, and that we'll have a room ready for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to myself, I'm terrified of it. I was. Now I'm not. And the reason I was terrified of it, I thought they slept on concrete slabs, and I thought that's not going to be very comfortable.
Oh, well, that's not what they did.
I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that they were so way more advanced than I'm thinking.
Well, if you read the Bible and you know how to understand what you're reading, and I'm not saying that as a put down, but people don't recognize opulence when they're reading it.
What do you mean?
I mean, just like grand jewelry and things like that,
yeah, I
and
can.
draped in gold.
I
and
always
stuff
thought
like
they
that.
wore nothing like that,
No.
and
They
then I'm
did, though.
finding out that they even had their ears pierced.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was not, God doesn't think an ear piercing is sin, right?
No.
Because now I'll tell you, my dad, you would have loved my dad. He told
Maybe.
me if God wanted a hole in your ear, He would have put it there when you were born.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, and if he wanted shoes on your feet, you would have been born with them.
That's right. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
that was his logic. And you know what? It took me
That's
a
crazy
long time.
logic, I
Well,
know.
it took me a long time to make the decision. He wanted us to make the decision ourselves, but we had to do it when we were old enough to do it. So at 16, we were allowed to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
So even my daughters, I said the same thing. At 16, you can make that decision. Now, little Sammy decided to do it, and she was a little younger. And then was it Sammy or Katie? I think it was Sammy. And she didn't take care of her ears, and therefore she let them close. Now she has little clip-on ears that she loves. And Gail's helped her out with some earrings, and she's just absolutely thrilled with those earrings. But she just wasn't old enough to take care of them. Now I always see babies with the earrings in there, and so maybe they're used to it when they're,
Right. Well, they
that
started putting piercing ears when the kids were just little kids,
yeah.
which to me made sense because the little kids didn't have the fear that the older ones have. My wife has clip-on ears because she was always afraid to get her ears pierced because of the pain.
Yeah. For me, I had clip-on ears up to about 16 years old, and then my mom took us in, and we got to do our ears. And that was a big deal. It was a big growing experience because then I knew, okay, I got to take care of them. I got to make sure I clean them and twist them. And now you don't see me often with earrings because I just don't think about it. I mean, I'm a mama of four. I don't have time to think about my earrings. I really don't. But some people just don't go out. Like I have friends that are just stunningly beautiful, and they'll always have earrings on. They'll always go out with full makeup on and just making sure they're well presented. I'm lucky if I have a shirt that's not on backwards. That's how scattered it can be sometimes, you know. And as I appreciate the fact that my kids, as they grow older, that, you know, they're a little more independent and I can kind of step back on that and I don't have to, you know, corral them and do that mom thing, you know. But it's challenging as they grow up. But I want to jump back to the fear part because, you know, these people in these situations, even the situation of October 7th when the people were at the music festival and they came through and slaughtered everybody. And yet you had people who were hiding underneath the bodies that were alive. And there's one account from a young woman who was under the pile and she had her cell phone on and she had been talking to someone when it started. And so she was whispering so that they couldn't hear her. And they finally found her afterwards, but she laid there for hours underneath the bodies because that was the only way
to stay alive.
Stay alive.
Well, that's a war tactic that I mean, they actually told us when I was in basic training for Vietnam. It says, now if you ever get an ambush where everybody's going to be done, it says you get under some bodies. Just put yourself under the body, and you're playing dead,
right?
Because they don't have time to go in. So what they're doing is come to you, and go on. You may or may not get hit,
right?
You know, and a lot of guys did that. Well, it's kind of in life you have to learn how to blend in like that too.
Sometimes, huh?
Yeah.
But can you imagine the thoughts that went through her head as she's underneath? I know that her friend was on the phone, or family member was on the phone with her at the time.
I don't think there's a lot of thoughts at a time like that. What you're combating more than that is your fear, not the thoughts. You know, either you're going to go with your training or you're going to go with your fear. First, your fear takes over, then your training kicks in if it's, you know, for a certain thing. Like me being a former military man, former deputy sheriff, if something was to happen, I would be fearful at first, but then my training would kick in.
Okay, you didn't get that silence.
Thought I did. Not bad.
Hang on.
Oh, come on.
All right.
Maybe that's not going to do it.
Here, I'll help you. Got it?
I think I got it. Yes, maybe.
Did it restart?
Trying to get it to
That's okay.
restart.
While you're doing that, I'm going to...
Yeah, I'm okay now. It's all. That was my brother.
Oh, checking up on you.
No, just probably conversating.
It's nice to do that once in a while.
Yeah.
Catch up.
Hey, I didn't want nothing. Just call you to see how you doing.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
But let's jump back to this. So for me, we know fear is from Satan, right? Fear is something that God doesn't put us in.
The spirit of fear is from Satan.
Okay.
Natural fear is what God put in you. That
What
keeps
does that
you.
mean? What's the difference?
Natural fear is this. I know because of natural fear, if I see a car coming, I don't step into the street in front of it.
Okay.
That's natural fear. Now, fear is there might be a street out there, and if I step into that street, or the spirit of fear says, I'm going to be evaporated. You didn't see nobody get evaporated. You never saw that. It's just something that
Comes on you.
Yeah. See, so that's the spirit of fear. And oftentimes, as a pastor, I've had to deal with natural fear. I've had to deal with spiritual fear. right in this room we're in now, we had to cast 4 devils out of my brother's. He wasn't his wife then, but she became his wife. We had to cast 4 spirits of fear out of this woman, and it was crazy.
Oh, wow.
And she said the 4 that we cast out, the other one just left. I said, oh, well, you have to be on guard because that one might want to try to come back,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, there's spirits of fear. You know, one of the biggest things that I have, and I have to be real quiet about it, I don't mean just me, but ministers, is we quickly recognize that we're living 2 existences. We're in the spirit realm and we're in the natural realm. And 99% of the people, they're just in the natural realm. But then you have to deal with these things that, you know, I put it this way, you're seeing things you don't want to see. Now, I don't mean you're seeing with your eyes, but it has happened. I've seen with my eyes too. And, you know, you see stuff and you go, I ain't saying nothing about that because they're going to think I'm crazy,
Yeah.
you know, or weird. So you just hold it in. But fear is something, that spirit of fear will come on people, particularly when they're going to positively affect a larger group of people,
Oh, that's
particularly
so true.
particularly towards godliness or towards right, shall we say.
That is so, so true. Before I jump into that, I have to, that's amazing. I have to tell you, I went into Costco, to get, some things for, today and for, this weekend. And, I was in my wheelchair because my knee was bothering me and my back was bothering me, and I just, there was no way to make it around, that. And I had, I think, 3 of my kids with me. And we had come from the homeless thing at Weston Park for the homeless people. And it was a event to bring together all of the nonprofits and the county organizations that help homeless people. It was a great, great event. But I got a button there that says prayer helps, I think is what it said. Well, what's that saying? AJ, do you remember what it said? Prayer changes,
things.
That's it. Prayer
Yeah, okay.
changes things. Okay. So when I was homeless, I would see a billboard that said prayer changes things. And that's what kept me going, that I know that God's there. And this sign popped out of nowhere. It's not like I'd ever seen one before. I mean, this was 25 years ago. This was not normal to see something like that just on a giant billboard in the middle of no man's land. And there it was. And so every time I drive that, I saw that. Well, we had this button that said prayer changes things. And there's a lady there who was working at the, you know, where you get your little samples.
Right.
She was doing the sample thing. And she started asking me about prayer and about how
How does it change things?
no, how to do it when she's a new Christian. What happened? She's got this new place, and suddenly she started feeling like overwhelmed, almost anxious, but more fearful of what's going on. And she's having these dreams, these vivid dreams. And you know what I went back to? I went back to Raul. Help me, Jesus.
Help me, Jesus.
And I said, because when he hears your thoughts in your mind and your heart, and he knows you. So if you're having a dream, a bad dream, this is what I trained my kids when they were little. If you're having a bad dream, shout out, help me, Jesus. Even if you're just thinking it, God hears you.
Sure.
And evil can't stand in the presence of Jesus. So when we have things like that, you know, be gone in the name of Jesus.
Everything is under that name.
Yeah.
In heaven, earth, and under the earth, Scripture says.
And so it's interesting because when you do that now, sometimes you have to call it a couple times and you just go, Jesus, 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 Jesus,
your
Jesus,
sake.
Jesus. And you know what? All of a sudden, your dream's gone. Half the time, you don't even remember it. You just know that you called out to Jesus last night. And so it was an interesting conversation, and you should have seen her change. She was so excited. Little Sammy gave her button because the lady liked what it said. So of course I gave Sammy mine. But what a amazing thing for my little girl to do, to think to give this woman her button because she said she needed it.
You know what's so interesting? People don't understand when a person calls on Jesus, the first person that's affected is them.
Yeah.
It's when you call, when you pray, it affects you. When you decide, I'm going to pray, when somebody says, oh God, help me, you know, that comforts them even before God is on the move.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I think it not only changes us when we're like, oh, help me, Jesus, or oh God, help me. We have to get out of our own way, because sometimes we overthink things and we cause more problems.
Not every time we overthink.
Oh, I tell you. Good. Then I'm not alone. I was worried I was alone.
I want you to know the guys are worse than the girls.
Are they really?
Oh, yes, indeed.
I can't imagine that it could get worse than me. I mean, I try and
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have to tell my mind to
The
shut
guys are
up.
tough about it, but you know,
Knees are shaking.
no, they ain't banging, they ain't shaking. They're in oscillation.
That's funny, but that's the difference between men and women, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing to see, but I want to go back to the what were we talking about right before this?
Get me the lion. What were we talking
Well,
about?
no, you know what? Stop, because you just said something. Remember when David went into the lions? It was David in the lion's den. And I can only imagine there was what, 5 lions? There was a lot of lions in there.
I'd have to look it up now.
Yeah, there was a lot of
That's
lions.
why I keep all of them books up there.
Yeah, I tell you, that's why I grab my phone every now and then just to double check.
Right. It was Daniel in the
Daniel.
lion's den. Yeah,
There we
I
go.
understand, yeah.
I'm like, David doesn't sound
I
right.
know it was D, but
I know, me too. I just lost it there. So Daniel in the lion's den. Imagine, he was about how old?
I'm not sure.
He could have been very old.
No, I'm going to
thought
say
he was
he
very
was
young.
probably in his teens.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You know.
And he walks into this, and you can imagine that fear kicks in initially, but then
You press through the fear.
he's talking to God, and somehow the lions are more tame than a little cat, little kitten,
Right.
and they didn't touch him.
No. Well, you know, this is where I try to teach the people about living in the spirit realm, what we have the capacity to do versus what we do. Such as in the spirit realm, we can talk to the animals. Now, we can't understand the animals as far as hearing a conversation between you and me, but when we speak, they know what you're talking about and to back off. Now, you can see it just in our daily lives. You can be going down the street and this dog, he's tearing up the fence, just stop it. And he'll go sit on the porch. He won't sit there running around. Why? Because it's a spiritual thing we deal with. It's why when you're in a crisis with a stranger, you can tell that stranger to stop it. I'm not talking about screaming, and they will, because it becomes a spiritual thing. So we have to learn how to live in the spirit and stay in the spirit.
You know, it's interesting you said that, because I recently had somebody get like 6 inches from my face. 6 inches. I mean, that's close enough to be kissing someone. That's very close.
And you thinking of kill? I was thinking of licking them.
Oh, yeah, I know you and your licking.
I tell you, it has such an effect
For
on them.
me, no, I wouldn't even go near that. But I'm not a huge person. I'm pretty average height and average weight. But this man was so much bigger, and his, because he's a bully. Because he felt that it was okay to do this, he's making threats. Why? I never did anything to him. I had no clue. But I was shocked. And I know my dad's training kicked in, because he was 82nd Airborne attached to CIA.
There you go.
He was in the military. My parents were married in 1963. So that's when he got out. I actually looked at his papers not too long ago. So he was officially released there, but he wasn't
Yeah,
released.
yeah.
You know how they,
Yeah, they were talking. They were already in Vietnam, but they were just starting to talk about it in '63.
so he wasn't there,
Yeah.
but where he was, well, he jumped out of perfectly good airplanes with suitcase nukes.
Uh-huh.
So he went in behind the Iron Curtain, destroying their nukes. He went into the Arab countries. In fact, at one point,
We can't be talking about these things.
somebody was
Leave these alone. Even now.
he's well, and it's true. I mean, but because these people are evil.
Yeah.
Evil.
Yeah,
At any rate, so this, when I was a little kid, he trained us because for some reason he thought we would need it. And so that training kicked in. At first I was shocked that somebody's this close. I mean, probably he was closer, like to right here, about 6 inches. And I couldn't let him know, that I was scared to death. Because of what my dad taught me. And I did exactly what he said. But I think it was God intervening that stopped him, because there's no way, the guy is way taller than me.
Right.
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 And unfortunately, as women, we are more susceptible to that. You're 6'8", you don't have that problem. You don't have somebody standing way above you who's going to come at you.
Not generally, no.
And if they do, well, you told me about that belt buckle angel. I think I'd have slammed the door too. I think I'd have been
That's the thing to
literally
do.
out of. Well, if you're not,
Well, I told you about the guy jerking me out of the car, didn't I?
yes,
I was a
yes,
deputy,
you
yeah.
did, yeah.
Yeah, he put me back in there. Okay.
Never mind. Thank you and goodbye. But for me, for somebody little like me, and I'm not little. I'm almost
what you mean.
5'7".
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah,
when
average size, yeah.
yeah, and when guys are much bigger, they use that power over women. But one thing that we have to remember is it doesn't matter if you're male or female. We're all children of God, and God steps in and intervenes to protect His people. Now, bad things still happen. It's not that He doesn't stop all bad things, because bad things can lead to good things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, when I lost my ability to walk and lost everything, when I'm, in that tent, and in that moment that the neighbor thought he was going to be, the homeless neighbor thought he was going to be my boyfriend, that's when I looked up to heaven. I was hurting so bad that day. And I was just sitting there rocking back and forth, and I look out the tent flap, and there he is, relieving himself to mark his territory. And I went, that's it, God. I can't do this anymore. I wonder, does everybody have a moment like that where they just go, I can't do it? Is that what happens to Christians?
I think there's a high percentage of people that would have that. Not everybody, but a high percentage of people have that, and it changes their lives forever, because they know that the strength that they have is not from within. That strength is from without. It's God coming in and intervening for them.
Well, it's interesting because when I was,
Even those that don't know God, He'll intervene for them.
yeah,
It's
I mean, I've
amazing,
always
yeah.
been a Christian.
Yeah.
That's all I remember is being a Christian.
Right.
I always believed what the Bible said. In particular, the New Testament. That was just like God gave His Son.
That's the key. You got to believe about the Son.
Yeah,
You
God
got to have
gave
all
His
of that
Son.
part right. Yeah.
And then I think about what He went through. And now, remember Passion of the Christ? I still can't watch it. Can't do it because I don't want to see how tortured He was.
As bad as that was, that doesn't even come close.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what my
Yeah.
and my imagination
Right.
is way worse
Yeah.
than that video. So I don't want
Right.
to see that stuff because I want to see His loving arms around me.
Right.
And knowing that He died for me and went through that that was kind of my stumbling block, I guess you want to say.
Right.
But when you're on the wrong track in life, I think God talks to us, whether we've had that moment where we go, I can't do this anymore, or not. I think God talks to us along the path. And I think, you know, it's an instinct, maybe. It's almost like a hint, but you can't really understand why you're feeling this
Well,
way.
you will know suddenly that, well, I know I said I couldn't do this, but I could do this. Now, you may not verbalize it, but your gizzard will know.
Well, or you know, more importantly, like most of us in the world, don't plan what you want to be when you grow up, right? Most of us kind of fall into a line of work,
We fall into a line of work, yeah.
and we do it because we can make a living. That's what I did.
That's what most people do.
That's what my parents
yeah.
did. My mom,
Right.
okay, I shouldn't say that. My mom wanted to be a nurse, and she became a nurse, and she was a phenomenal nurse. But most people that I've run into have a hard time understanding that, you know, they choose this line of work because they can make a living at it. But we're God's people. And so he's still talking to us, and he's trying to give us little hints along the way about what we should be doing or where we should be going. And we can only ignore him so long. And it's not really ignoring, it's just that I don't understand. I'm supposed to be making a living and I'm doing a living. You know, why do I feel like I'm not supposed to be where I'm supposed to be? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so then we get into all kinds of trouble when we don't listen. I mean, you have a lot of people in your congregation. Is this something that's normal? Yeah.
Yes.
And what do you
Very.
advise these people? Do they have to audibly hear
advise
him?
them. No, you advise them to follow their spirit after they read the scriptures.
So, but I've read that. I mean, I was a child reading, right? So I read the scriptures. I am terrible with what's, you know, I can't tell you, like you and I'm going, I said, David, it was Daniel, you know, because I'm terrible with that stuff. I know the essence of it, and I can read it,
Well,
read
you
it,
just
read
need the
it.
concepts of it. You don't need to know the players.
Thank God,
you know,
because you know
yeah.
what? If I had to memorize that whole Bible, I'd fail. I would never be a good Jewish person. They have like thousands of rules.
Yeah.
I would never. I would be horrible at
Well,
it.
but the trouble is they're horrible at it too.
Oh,
No, I mean, you know, we have the idea that you think the people in the Bible were special people. No, they're not. One of the biggest idiots in the Bible was Peter.
you're calling him Peter is like the founding one of the founding apostles, right, of the church.
Yes. However, look at the things that the dude did. He would be one of the biggest sinners on the block.
Yeah. I mean,
But
give me
you
an
see,
example.
it
Give me an
was-
example.
The focus is not on Peter. The focus is on what Jesus did through him.
What is something though that Peter did that, like, maybe the viewers or I might
Well,
have
he
done?
denied Jesus for one.
Oh yes, he did 3 times.
Yeah, uh-huh.
He's
Yeah.
the one that did
I don't know him. You know, if I don't know him. You know. Well, why?
How can that not have broken him?
I believe it did.
And then, because they ran away,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Well, see, there's all kind of things, but we read the Bible as a good outside story rather than reading it as you step in there with them.
Yeah.
You know, you're sitting, you're number 7 in the chain of people. You know, you'll be surprised what a difference it makes when you can live what they would have lived, and you can get those feelings to come on you, and they will. You know, like you know, you take. I don't know if you've ever been lonely. Okay, it's a feeling that comes on you,
Yeah.
and you can push it off of you.
Yeah.
Happy is the same thing. Happy can come on you that quick, but happy can come on you anytime you want happy to come on you. But you have to learn how to do that.
Choose your attitude. That's what I tell
Choose your
my
attitude.
kids.
Yes.
Choose your attitude.
Well, it's very true because I'll give you an example. I know a child, I'm not going to call their name. I ask my wife, why is it all the time they're angry? Why are they angry? There's nothing to be angry. Listen, you just got one eye partially open and you're already angry.
Yeah.
Why? Nobody's done anything. It's choose your attitude.
Yeah. And you said something a moment ago and it dawned on me. Peter denied Jesus 3 times.
Hmm.
And you said he was broken.
Yeah, he was broken over it. Sure.
Well, that means, and look at what God did through him, right? So God
Does some
chooses,
reconstruction on you when
he
you're
chooses
broken.
broken people.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Because we're
Yes.
all broken
Well, you
in
know,
some way.
there's a song from years ago, just ordinary people. God chooses ordinary people.
And does extraordinary
Mhm.
things.
Yes. But, you know, we think that somebody who's really up there is really something, blah, 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 blah. I know some of the biggest men in the gospel today. I know them by name. I know them personally. I've sat down with them. I've had meals with them, etc. They're just ordinary people. You know.
I think that's what, remember Tammy Faye and Jim Baker.
Sure.
And God doesn't take these people and put them on a pedestal. And
They're
they
just ordinary people.
make mistakes.
Without God, they're nothing.
Yep. Well, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's it. You have to choose God.
Exactly.
You have to choose Jesus.
But when you choose him, then you're living for him. That means you got to go the whole 9 yards.
Well, and that's it. That's it, Tom. We're not seeing people go the whole 9 yards
No,
anymore.
they back
People
off.
are afraid.
Yeah.
And you got to stop. You got to stop being afraid. Stop being afraid. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because I heard it on the way over, and that is that Christians are not voting. Like God wants us, Jesus wants us to participate in government, right?
Well, now,
Normal
okay,
folks.
okay, but let me say this on behalf of Christians. If you put out everybody not voting, the Christians wouldn't have any higher percentage than the rest of the folks.
Right, but if the Christians
know,
actually got out and voted, they
It
would make
a
change.
difference. Yes, I
You
understand that.
you would see
If they voted right.
right. You would see people voting for godly people,
Yeah.
not those who claim to be godly,
Well,
but actual godly people, because God will show you who to vote for.
But then the problem you get into right away is, what is a Christian? And who is a Christian?
Well, and that's exactly it.
Because
Shouldn't we
a lot
recognize
of
each
people
other?
that claim to be Christians, they're
Yeah.
not Christians.
I have run into a lot of
I've
them
had
lately.
pastors that I've had to talk to and tell them, you are not a Christian. As a matter of fact, walking down the street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, coming from one of the biggest faith conferences I had ever been in. I'm walking with a group of pastors. And this one, not next to me, but past that, this pastor, every time a girl would go by, he would say, "Ooh, wee, look at her. Oh my
Oh
goodness."
my gosh.
So that went on. Another girl, he said, "Oh my, look, ooh. Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do." And I reached around the guy and I said, "Cut it out, man." I smacked him upside his head. He looked at me. I said, "Don't let me smack you upside the front."
Yeah.
So he just went. He didn't look at girl
Did
walked
he
by.
date a pastor?
I don't know.
Isn't
I
that
don't
sad?
know. It really it was sad. It was grieving me, just to see him act like that.
Yeah, that's the problem I have. I've run into at least a couple pastors or people who claim to be pastors, but really they're not pastors at all. They
No.
might speak like they're a pastor, but God says you can tell them by their fruits, right?
Exactly.
You can tell all of us by our fruits, but
By our fruits,
pastors should have a lot of good fruit.
Well, pastors should be called to be pastors, and so many are not. They have pastors as an occupation. You cannot have pastoring as an occupation.
That's kind of like political.
Because, see,
leaders.
here's the thing. If you call me, Crystal, at 3:17 in the morning, I'm going to get out of my bed, put my shoes on, put my blue jeans on or whatever, and I'm going to come to your aid
Yeah.
because I'm your pastor. Well, look, you're going to have to just kind of tough it out right now. Call me in the morning, blah, 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 after 9 o'clock, and, we'll take care of this. Really.
Can you imagine being on the receiving end of that?
I called my pastor one time, and I said, "Pastor, I need help." He said, hold on, I'll be right over. I says, no, I don't need you to come over, Pastor. So I told him what it was. He told me what to do, etc. He says, now you sure you don't need me to come? I said, no, Pastor, I don't need you to come. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Did he show up?
He showed up. He did the
I
right.
figured I bet. Why? Because he had a pastor's heart. He was caring. See, a lot of pastors in name only, or they are such a big wig that you can't get near them,
Or they think they're a big wig.
or they think they're a big wig.
Yeah.
You know, Pastor
of them
Gail
don't
will
want 'em.
show you a picture of the man who gave us the car out there,
Uh-huh.
and you can look and see him. He has this biggest old smile on his face, giving away a $60,000 automobile. You know,
Yeah, that's
why?
crazy.
Because that's his heart, and folks don't know that.
Yeah.
All you read is the bad stuff. You hear all of this bad stuff. You know, yeah, this one is that way, and this one is that way, and Oral Roberts is so and this one, blah blah blah. But the folks that they don't know nothing about nothing.
But you should be able to tell them by their congregation.
No, even by their congregation, you can't tell them, because congregations, so many people, I hate to say this, they come to church for the wrong reason. You know why they come to church?
Why?
Because they feel if I come to church, well, then I don't have the guilt of not doing what's right. They got no idea. They don't want to be with God. They just know that a good person always shows up to church on Sunday.
Oh,
Yeah, you'd be surprised the things the pastors don't
yeah.
have to deal with, you know.
Yeah, and when as busy as things are right now,
Yeah.
it's
Like
crazy.
I've had, not recent, this was years ago when I was first starting, people would come up to me, more than one. What do you do with all of this money? All of what money?
That's what I was thinking.
All of the money that you take up in offering and this and that and the other. Now remember, as long as I've been in my ministry, we're talking almost 45 years now. Back in the beginning, that was a lot of money to a lot of people.
Right.
And I said, you mean you think that I get to keep all of this money? Yeah, don't you? Isn't that what the pastors do? No. I said, I'm on a salary from a board.
Mm-hmm.
And my salary probably ain't as much as your salary, because they keep it down deliberately so these types of things that happen. Well, you can get anything you want. I said, oh, I can? I didn't know that. That's why I'm driving a 20-year-old car now.
That's though that's what we see a lot of pastors
Yeah.
doing, and they think that it's their money. They don't follow what God's telling them to do, and they're claiming to be pastors. And let me ask you, God doesn't like that. God doesn't like
I don't think he does. I think God wants you to be in a position that if he told you had to give X amount of dollars to so and so right now to keep them from going under, you would do it.
Yeah.
Not that you don't need it. God said do it. You do it because it's his money. It's not mine.
Well, and that's exactly it. I mean, I think the difference is that between the two, between you and someone who is pastor in name only, we'll call it that, that the deeds that you do, the seeds that you've sown, you can tell the difference between what you've done in your life and what somebody else has done in theirs. In their life, that money is to make them, rich, or to give them the things of the world.
Well, you're supposed to do what is right. I had a couple that came to the church just a few months. And I mean, they were basically in tears when they got there. They were losing their house. They were in foreclosure and blah, 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 and so and so. So the guy asked me to help. I thought, sure, I'll help you. We got the house out of foreclosure, got him steady on solid ground. I called some people, got him a job, etc., etc. He was in good shape. Suddenly the Lord told him to leave the church. I said, okay. He says, you don't believe me? I said, no.
Interesting. Interesting. Isn't that's the way it's going though in the world nowadays?
The way it is, for sure.
And it's
But
unfortunate.
did I do right?
Yeah, you did
That's
right.
what's important.
You did right. But
That's what's
I
important.
want to, because our ballots just came out, I want to make sure everybody understands the importance of voting in this election. Even if you only vote for, a certain candidate.
Well, let me say something about voting, since this is going to be seen by thousands. Either you're going to vote for a platform that contains God, or for a platform that God has been removed from the platform deliberately.
Ooh.
That's up to you.
Well, and that's it. And people, and unfortunately, people, we've heard this a million times. Your vote doesn't count. You, husband and wife, both of you have two different political views. One votes one way, one votes the other. It cancels each other out, right? But not really, because there's so many people voting. Sometimes it can lead down to, and I've seen elections where it's one person's vote makes all the difference.
I've never seen it to one, but I've seen it to 8.
Oh yeah, it's good.
And
God,
a
Lord.
large population down to 8 people
And I can.
decided.
And they do recounts and recounts and recounts just because they are. It can't be that close. It can't be that close.
Yeah.
But that's because we need to get out and vote. If we get out and vote, and we say enough is enough, we're going to vote for people who are going to support what we believe in.
Well, if one of the people that you're voting for is saved, now the Christians, you know what I'm talking about when you say saved. You've made Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior. You profess Him as Lord and Savior, and you talk about Him and tell others you're saved. If one of the people running for office is saved and you're saved, you should be voting for that person. Whether you like what they said 15 years ago, whether you think this, whether you like their face, whether you like their color, it doesn't matter. You should be voting for righteousness.
Well, and that's it. I think there's a true difference between the candidates this time.
Yeah.
Just take a simple look at Hurricane Helene, and you look at how it was handled. You look at the hurricane in Florida that followed. One candidate housed all the linemen in Florida for free, just so that once the storm was over, that they would be able to get electricity and power back to the people. And he was doing what he could.
Surely.
And that's the difference. People need to stop looking at what people tweet. I don't know what they call it on X anymore, but it used to be tweet.
Well, I had to figure out what X was. Then I realized, oh, that's right. Google has been changed to X.
No,
It
Google.
hasn't.
No,
Google still
Twitter
Google?
has changed. to
Twitter
X.
has changed. I know something. I thought it was Google.
Yeah, no, Google is limiting searches. It's really weird. When
Well,
when you search for certain things, like I was searching
I don't
for.
search anyway.
So I was searching for President Donald J. Trump. I was looking up something, and it came up with everything Kamala. Everything. I was like, I didn't see anything about Kamala. I did it again. I closed out the window. I opened it in a different browser, all under Google, and it kept bringing up Kamala. I was
Well, I
like,
won't
what
be
the
looking at
heck? She
Google
had
no more
nothing to
either.
do with the question that I was asking.
No.
Why on earth is she on
That's
that
people.
thing? And it's because they manipulate the search bars. They manipulate the information that they're putting out, and they put it out. They put out what and only what they want you to hear, and it's like, unfortunately, it's kind of. I mean, people call it the Great Awakening. It is an awakening, I think, and people are realizing that we're only getting part of the story. You know, when FEMA is told to step down and they're doing photo ops, loading and unloading a huge plane. They didn't even take the stuff to the victims.
Right, right.
When
Well, you know, it was so shocking. I learned early, and this was back in the 70s, about the truth and the staged truth.
exactly staged is the,
Staged truth. Here's the difference. when a photo was taken of a guy making a rescue, a deputy making a rescue, he made that rescue and he was struggling, etc. When they showed it for the media, like the photo that he was,
Yeah.
that was the stage photo. And I asked him, I says, what's going on here? What do you mean? I says, what's with the big smile?
Mm-hmm.
I says, you're in the middle of turmoil out there and you got time to look up and give me this big smile? Come on.
Yeah.
He goes, oh man, I never thought about that. He said, they stopped everything and put the people back
Oh, it's so crazy.
and told me to look and hold this one and hold this one and smile. I go, hey.
I tell you, I mean, I'm sorry. I must be really naive because I thought when I watched the news, it was the truth. And come to find out, it's no longer journalism.
No.
It's their opinion.
Yeah.
It's the story they want told. And
Exactly.
that is dangerous. It's dangerous for our country to watch these lies and actually believe these lies. I'm having a hard time with the fact that people are praying for a former president to get killed. And the rhetoric has started back up after these two hurricanes.
Well, that
And-
rhetoric about the president, he's had 2 attempts on his life.
No, he's had
He was-
more.
Oh, he's had more now?
He had.
I only had-
So yeah.
I only
let
knew
me-
about 2,
let me-
but I know he's going to have a total of 4.
Well, let me tell you, he's already had one after the 2. So
Oh, this is
there was
great.
an
You got-
event.
Got another one coming.
There was an
in.
event, and they said they found fake bombs at the event. Well, those fake bombs were real bombs, and they were chemical bombs. 60,000 plus people that had they announced that there were bombs there, they would have trampled each other to death to get out. But they believed that they had everything under control until about 20 or 40 people who were near the walkway when the president walked out. All had the same symptoms of sickness. They treated them and got it taken care of. But it was yet another attempt. They no longer care if they just kill the president. They want they are willing to sacrifice anyone around him.
Well, that's always been.
Yeah, but I don't think that it does any good when they start up with the rhetoric and the lies, and they have their machine. It's not just the media anymore. It's a political machine, and the political machine is putting out this propaganda.
Well,
and then they
Go
claim
ahead.
what we're seeing when they find out the truth, that's propaganda and it's false. But if you dig a little deeper, you find out that, oh, guess what? The stuff that the media is saying is false is actually the truth. And they call them receipts now. Here's the receipts for it. But what it is here's the paper trail.
Well, here's the thing. When I was in college, I majored in journalism. I couldn't stand it because what journalism did was it sold column inches. How many column inches will this story bring? And can you get on the first page with this photograph?
Right.
If you can't, we got to get this photograph together so you can get on the first page.
They're just looking
Now-
for a hot story.
I recall one time I was sucked into something. At the time when the photo was taken, I was like this with my gun. Now that was over here. 3 years later, when something happened over here, there I am with my gun.
With the picture.
3 years later. Just, how could that be? They had held on to that picture so when they could associate my name and my gun and put me in a picture. I didn't even know who these people, what this was all about.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well,
crazy.
but that's journalism.
But that's what
That's what sells column inches.
I mean, and that's the bottom line is that we thought of journalists as highly respected individuals who were telling the truth,
No,
and it was only for a byline.
no, it wasn't. And I'll tell you, it's
was
kind of
for the
like,
front
let's
page.
take shooting. If I shoot you in the leg, if I shoot you in the arm, shoot you in the torso, well, that's up higher. I shoot you in the face, oh my goodness, that's everywhere.
Yeah,
So what do they want you shot?
in the face. Yeah, so they can get money
Right.
from it. It's all about money.
It's all about money. Yeah, I hate to say that.
That is
but
so ridiculous. This country was not founded on this, and this country needs to go back to the Constitution, to the original documents, and start
don't think-
acting like Americans.
I don't think we can. As a matter of fact, the average person doesn't even know what the Constitution says.
I know, and I'm working on that.
And I got right as we sit here now, at my little table in there. I bet you I can find a book with the Constitution.
And you
on
know
it.
what? It's small.
Yeah,
Like, it's
probably-
really thin.
Yeah.
There's not a lot
Well, they didn't
there.
say a whole lot. I
Well, they
mean,
didn't
it's
need
probably
to.
2 pages.
Yeah, they
you know?
didn't need to.
Yeah, right.
But if we're going to save this country, we have to get out and vote. And I don't care if you don't like someone's tweets. I don't care if you think he's cocky. I don't care if you think that you wouldn't even like him. Let me tell you something. If he's going to be pro-abortion and you're a Christian, don't vote for him. If he's going to be pro-life and he's a Christian, vote for him.
Yes.
Because that's the bottom line. Do you believe in murder, or do you believe in
Well, that's not
Saving.
murder.
oh my gosh.
Abortion is not murder.
Oh, don't even go there.
No, I know.
Do you know, well, listen to this.
I've heard so many
At
of these
this
stories.
event, we had Birth Choice was there. And Birth Choice has options for young women. And they are trained to offer all options. Way back when, and I'm sure you probably know when, they stopped allowing them to advertise for adoption. Why?
Because that was a choice that was getting in the way of what they wanted
Of what
to do.
they wanted to do. Exactly.
You don't make no money on adoption.
No. And when you look at, and Birth Choice has this little box, and it shows a baby from 12 weeks to 26 weeks, what it looks like and what it weighs on average. And so I pick up this little 12-week-old baby, about this big, and that's all curled up. And they have eyes, they have fingers, they have
They're
toes.
fully developed.
They have, it's a baby. You can
No,
see
they
that
got
it's a baby.
toenails.
Yeah, exactly. They have little hairs on the
sure.
body. You can see that it's a child.
Right.
And they're aborting a baby. Now, you also have people out there who have whatever issues, they're married or not married or whatever, and they want to have a baby and they can't. And you know what? It should be easier to adopt children in the United States. I know.
It's not.
It's horrible. You have to be
ridiculous,
a
yeah.
millionaire. You have to have all this money and all this
You
other
have
stuff.
all your ducks in a row.
And then,
Unless you're 2 men.
then you might.
Then
But
we,
it doesn't make any sense to me how they make it so hard to be a family when you want a family, but then they make it so that you don't have a choice. They don't offer that choice in regular places. Birth Choice is where to go in California, and I tell you what, the people over there at Birth Choice are amazing. They're going to help you make the right decision, the best decision, and they're going to provide the best care for women.
Right.
So that's an option. But you know what? We've gone on a little long today, so I guess we better end.
I guess we're having fun now.
We
Bye,
always
y'all.
do. We always do. Thank you for coming. See you next time. Hey, wait, before you go, don't forget, in the link below is the name of the church for Pastor Tom, and a link is Valley Believers Christian Church
No, Valley Believers Christian Center.
Center. I always get it wrong,
I know you do.
but I know you, and it's wonder he doesn't make fun of me anymore.
777 South San Jacinto Street in the city of San Jacinto.
10:30 on Sundays.
7
And
o'clock
if you'd
on
like
Wednesday.
to help out his church, you're welcome. He would love to have you donate. That would help us keep this program on the air. And so hopefully you enjoy the conversations, and just simply add any comments that you have down below, and we'll try and get to as many as we can and answer any questions if you have them. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week, and don't forget to get out and vote. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.